Welcome everyone, let's jump right into this explainer of the totally unbelievable 2025-26 San Antonio Spurs season. Look, if you follow hoops, you know the drill. Rebuilds are supposed to be this long, agonizing test of patience. But this year, man, we literally watched a franchise hit fast forward, completely rewriting its destiny from a lottery team to a full-blown championship contender in what felt like the blink of an eye.
62-20. Just let that sink in for a second. We're not talking about a cute little step forward here. This was a massive, monstrous leap that locked him into the number 2 seed in an absolutely brutal Western Conference, and they just cruised to the Southwest Division title. To put it in perspective, this is the first time the Spurs have crossed that magic 60-win threshold since way back in the 2016-17 season.
So the obvious question is, how? How in the world did the Spurs become an overnight juggernaut? Well, we're going to break down exactly how this miraculous turnaround happened. We'll look at the strategic roster moves, some truly historic individual performances, and the key figures who lit the match on this San Antonio revival.
First up, Section 1, a changing of the guard, the end of an era and a new beginning.
Okay, so the whole turning point actually kicks off with a pretty monumental goodbye. On May 2nd, 2025, the absolute legend himself, Greg Popovich, stepped down after a staggering 29 seasons. For the first time since, the mid-90s, the Spurs sideline looked totally different. Mitch Johnson, who had been an assistant and acting head coach, was officially handed the keys to the kingdom. Now, the pressure there is just immense, right? But how did the team respond? By ripping off an unprecedented 5-0 start in October, literally the best start to a season in the franchise's entire history.
And when you look at the big picture, the contrast is kind of mind-blowing. They went from a really struggling 34-48 squad the year before, straight into a 62-win machine. Guys, that's a 28-win jump in a single calendar year. You just don't see leaps of that magnitude in the modern NBA unless you've got a catalyst of historic, generational proportions.
Which brings us right to Section 2, the year of the alien. Victor Wembanyama's historic leap.
I mean, the numbers speak for themselves. In just his third season, Victor Wembanyama put up a devastating 25 points, 11.5 rebounds, and 3.1 blocks a night. And it wasn't just volume. He shot over 51% from the floor. He basically became a black hole for opposing offenses and a complete cheat code on the other end. He forced literally every single team in the league to just tear up their scouting reports and start over.
But you know, the spreadsheet only tells half the story. The hardware he brought home is what really cements his status. Wemby was a unanimous, yes, unanimous, NBA Defensive Player of the Year. He finished third in MVP voting and was a total no-brainer for the 2026 All-Star Game. It's undeniable proof that he's already sitting at the table with the absolute best in the world. And honestly, the terrifying part is he might just be scratching the surface.
And when the lights were brightest, against the defending champion Oklahoma City Thunder in Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals, he delivered an absolute masterpiece. We're talking a grueling, double-overtime road win fueled by an unbelievable 41-point, 24-rebound explosion. That's one of those defining performances people are going to be talking about for decades.
Let's move on to Section 3, the 62-win machine, building the perfect supporting cast.
Because look, an alien can't win 62 games completely alone, right? The backcourt dynamic they built around him is just fantastic. You've got veteran all-star De'Aaron Fox bringing that lightning pace and leadership with almost 19 points and over 6 assists a game. And right next to him, sophomore phenom Stephen Castle, dropping nearly 17 points and leading the squad with 7.4 assists. That mix of veteran composure and young fire totally raised the ceiling for this San Antonio offense.
Riding that balanced roster, the Spurs started checking off milestones we hadn't seen in San Antonio for almost a decade. How about an absolutely flawless 11-0 run in the month of February? Or knocking out heavyweights to finish as the runner-up in the in-season NBA Cup. Plus, of course, hanging their first Southwest Division banner since 2017. Just an incredible run.
And their playoff path? Total masterclass in execution. They didn't just squeak by the Portland Trail Blazers in the first round. They systematically dismantled them in 5 games. Then, they stepped into the ring with a really heavy-hitting Minnesota Timberwolves squad and sent them packing in 6. For the first time since 2017, they were past the second round, setting up a titanic clash with the defending champs.
Which brings us to Section 4, Western Conference Finals clash, the ultimate test against the Thunder.
So after the Spurs stole that epic double overtime Game 1, Game 2 turned into a straight-up heavyweight brawl. The Thunder punched right back, winning 122-113. You had reigning MVP Shai Gilgeous-Alexander putting on an absolute clinic with 30 points. But the young Spurs, they didn't back down for a second. Castle dropped 25, and Wemby threw up a monster 21-point, 17-rebound double-double with 6 assists. So here we are, deadlocked at 1 game apiece.
But what makes Game 3 back in San Antonio so incredibly nerve-wracking is the sheer war of attrition happening right now. I mean, both sides are really limping into this. The Spurs are missing De'Aaron Fox with ankle soreness, and brutally, they lost their number 2 overall pick, rookie Dylan Harper, to a right leg injury in Game 2. On the flip side, OKC is sweating over Jalen Williams and his hamstring strain. This isn't just about talent anymore. It's a true test of survival and bench depth.
Finally, Section 5, a bright future ahead. A foundation built to last. Because regardless of how this crazy series ends, the rest of the NBA should be absolutely terrified of the Spurs for the foreseeable future. Why? Well, they aren't just a 62-win juggernaut today, they are sitting on a massive treasure chest of future draft capital. We're talking swap rights with the Hawks in 2026, a protected first-round pick from either Sacramento or OKC in 2027, and Celtics swap rights in 2028. They have this scary flexibility to either continually draft cost-controlled talent or package those picks to drop another superstar right next to Wembanyama.
Oh, and as if the on-court product wasn't intimidating enough, pair that roster and those draft picks with a newly approved $1.3 billion arena. The voters have spoken. The franchise is fully modernizing its physical infrastructure to match the towering, undeniable potential of its superstar center.
So, that leaves us with one final, undeniable question about this incredible rise. Will the San Antonio Spurs shock the world and claim their 6th championship this very year? Or is this 62-win campaign just the terrifying beginning of a brand new, decades-long dynasty? Let that sink in for a bit. Thanks for joining this explainer, and we'll catch you next time.